Right now, without you realizing it, something is watching your neighborhood. No agency deployed it. No company owns its servers. Nobody on this team draws a paycheck, wears a badge, or clocks in anywhere. And they've been running this operation for thousands of years, long before cameras, long before computers, long before surveillance was even a concept humans had a word for. They perch on power lines, rooftops, and tree branches. They watch you. They've memorized your face. They know your habits. And they've already told every other member of their network exactly who you are, what you look like, and whether you're a threat. In 2024, scientists fed hundreds of thousands of hours of their recorded calls into one of the most advanced AI systems ever pointed at animal communication. They expected to find simple emotional noise. What they found instead has rewritten our understanding of the creatures living alongside us. The crows weren't just making sounds, they were talking about us. Specifically, constantly, in far more detail than anyone was ready for. Here's where the science gets uncomfortable. The data for several years, a team in Spain has been recording carrion crows with extraordinary precision. Microphones near nests, biologgers tracking every sound each bird makes throughout the day. The archive they built was massive, hundreds of thousands of individual vocalizations, and most of it wasn't the loud core people associate with crows. The bulk of it was quiet, low-volume murmuring, sounds too faint for human ears to register as meaningful in the field. For decades, nobody had the tools to study that layer of sound at scale. Then, in 2024, the Earth Species Project, a US non-profit focused on applying AI to animal communication, partnered with the researchers to build models capable of sorting and classifying the entire range of crow vocalizations. The project's lead researcher put it simply: the data set was too large for any human team to work through by hand. It needed a machine. What the machine found wasn't what anyone anticipated. The AI was originally tasked with something fairly basic: group the sounds into categories, match calls to behaviors, food nearby, predator incoming, come here. This is the kind of simple signaling system scientists had long assumed was the ceiling for animal vocal communication. That assumption collapsed the moment the data came in. Instead of a basic signal set, the AI found structure, specific, repeating, rule-governed patterns in how sounds were sequenced. In human language, we call that syntax. The rules that let sounds combine into meaning beyond a flat list of labels, meaning that can describe relationships, narrate events, and reference individuals. The AI was picking up the signature of syntax in crow calls, not as a loose comparison. The statistical patterns matched exactly what linguists look for when testing whether a sequence of sounds counts as structured language rather than noise. A century-old assumption. Wrong to grasp why this matters. You have to understand what neuroscience believed about bird brains for over 100 years. That advanced cognition required a cerebral cortex, the folded outer layer found in mammalian brains. Birds don't have one. Their brains are smooth. So for generations, scientists assigned the hardware for complex thought just wasn't present. What they'd missed is that evolution doesn't have only one blueprint. Birds developed a completely different structure called the pallium. Nothing like the mammalian cortex in shape, but functionally similar at the cellular level. Inside a crow's small skull, neurons are packed at an unusually high density. Relative to body size, a crow's cognitive horsepower rivals a chimpanzee's. Researchers have taken to calling corvids, the family that includes crows and ravens, feathered apes. The new FXI findings make that nickname feel less like a metaphor and more like a plain description. Brain imaging work has now mapped what happens inside a crow's head when it spots a human face. When a crow sees someone linked to a past threat, several brain regions fire together: the rostral hyperpallium, the nidopallium, the mesopallium, the lateral striatum, including strong activity in the structure equivalent to the amygdala, the human brain's fear and threat center. In practice, That means a crow recognizing a dangerous face isn't just pulling up a mental photo. It's undergoing something measurably close to fear. Recognition and emotion fire through the same overlapping circuitry. Memory, visual ID, and threat response merged into a single experience. It's the same basic architecture behind human fear. Crow brains and human brains landed on the same solution by entirely separate evolutionary routes. Which means a crow's grudge isn't reflexive, it's personal, and it lasts. The mask experiment. The clearest demonstration of this came from Dr. John Maslow's lab at the University of Washington, in research on crow facial recognition that's now among the most cited studies in behavioral science. Maslow wanted to know if crows could recognize individual human faces without turning any of his actual researchers into a permanently marked enemy of the local crow population. His solution: masks. His team wore one distinctive mask while trapping, banding, and releasing crows on campus. The birds weren't hurt, but getting caught was clearly stressful, and they reacted with aggressive calls and struggling. Then the team put the mask away and went back to their ordinary faces. What happened next wasn't subtle. Anytime someone put the mask back on, regardless of who was underneath it, nearby crows immediately started scolding, mobbing, and dive-bombing them. The crows hadn't learned to recognize one person. They'd flagged the mask itself as a threat. Here's the part that changes everything. Crows that had never been trapped, never interacted with the research team at all, began attacking the mask with the same intensity as the birds who'd actually been caught. Young crows born after the original experiment attacked on sight the first time they saw it. Maslow wore the mask again 5 years later. By then, most of the originally captured birds had died of natural causes. The flock mobbing him was made up almost entirely of crows who'd never personally met the mask wearer, but they knew the face anyway. That information passed from the first generation of crows to the next, not through instinct, but through deliberate social communication. The original crows described the dangerous face to their neighbors, their young, anyone in the network who'd listen accurately enough to enable recognition, and with enough emotional weight attached to trigger aggression in birds with zero direct experience of the original threat. That's cultural transmission of information about a specific individual, something we assumed was uniquely human. Names the AI study supplies the mechanism behind that transmission. Buried in the crow vocalizations, the machine found something researchers initially lacked the vocabulary to describe: sound sequences functioning as unique identifiers for specific individuals, including specific humans the crows had encountered. These weren't broad categories like dangerous human. They were consistent, specific sequences tied to one individual and nobody else, reproduced by multiple different crows, including ones that had never met that person directly, whenever that individual came into range. The AI classified these sequences as functioning like proper nouns. Names, not arbitrary labels, but descriptive identifiers carrying real information about a specific individual, recognized as such across the group. The crows had named the people in their territory, and they were broadcasting those names constantly, updating the network in real time as those individuals moved through the area, planning ahead. And that's not even the strangest part. The AI also picked up something unexpected in the timing of crow vocalizations. Complex sound sequences occurring before events, not as a reaction to them. Crows were gathering in groups and producing extended, structured exchanges before doing something, with no external trigger yet in play. These pre-event sequences had statistically distinct properties from other calls, leading researchers to label them planning sequences. These birds weren't only reacting to the world as it happened, they were discussing what to do about it in advance, coordinating, strategizing. The old idea that animal communication lives entirely in the present tense doesn't hold up against this. Crow communication reaches forward in time, and a lot of what they're planning around is us. A running dossier, a significant share of daily crow vocalizations reference humans, not just alarm calls when someone walks past, but extended conversations during quiet stretches when no person is visible, no threat is present, and no food is nearby. Crows appear to talk about people the way people talk about acquaintances they have opinions on. The AI even picked up distinct acoustic markers tied to different individuals, patterns the researchers interpret as encoding emotional valence. The sound used to reference someone who reliably provides food differs from the sound used for someone who's posed a threat. The distinction is clear enough for the AI to classify reliably, and clear enough that other crows respond differently depending on which one they hear. Your standing in the local crow network isn't just remembered. It's discussed, updated, and shared continuously. That points to something like a shared, crowd-sourced knowledge base about the local environment. And humans are among its most heavily documented entries. When someone new enters crow territory, information starts moving immediately. The first crow to spot them broadcast what it saw, others relay it. And soon crows that have never laid eyes on the newcomer are already primed with a profile, threat or opportunity. The AI tracked this spread directly. An identifier for one person showing up in calls from multiple birds across a territory, cascading outward from the first sighting. Funerals as investigations. Then there are the so-called crow funerals, long documented, never fully understood until tools existed to analyze what's actually being said during them. The pattern is consistent across populations. When a crow dies, the bird that finds it produces a specific call that draws others in. The gathered crows circle, watch, and vocalize, but they don't eat the body, fight over it, or leave quickly. They linger, sometimes for a while, and the vocal exchanges during these gatherings rank among the most complex the AI found in the entire dataset. University of Washington researchers found that crows present at these gatherings later changed how they behaved around that location and the circumstances of the death. Consistent with having extracted specific threat information from the event, the gatherings function like investigations. The crows work out what killed their neighbor and encode that as information the flock can carry forward. What the AI picked up in the low-frequency calls during these events resembles a warning label tying a specific place, object, or event to lethal danger and pushing that association out to the living. It's not just mourning, it's documentation. A continental network, the final, most striking layer is geographic. Mapping the spread of specific vocal patterns, the AI study found something researchers described as an analog communication network. Individual call patterns moving between flocks across hundreds of miles, relayed through overlapping territories. A new call structure appearing in one city's crow population can surface in a population far away months later. Passed flock to flock, much like cultural information, spreads through human populations. Crows have something resembling an oral tradition, a distributed information network carrying knowledge about threats, about humans, about new dangers, the same way critical information moves through ours, one individual passing it to the next. A new danger discovered in one location can spread across an entire region before most local crows ever encounter it directly. They're updating their collective awareness in real time, drawing on experiences that happen to birds they've never met. The signal that went dark. There's one more thing researchers are still working through, something unexpected that surfaced in the latest phase of analysis. As the AI got better at distinguishing patterns in crow speech, local populations near the study sites started producing vocalizations the machine could no longer classify. A new structural pattern emerged and spread through local flocks at the same speed as any other information in their network, then moved into neighboring territories. The AI's classification confidence dropped sharply and stayed there. The system wasn't translating anymore. It was just recording something it couldn't pass. Behavioral ecologists on the project have floated a theory they admit is hard to prove. Crows are known to probe unfamiliar objects, test boundaries, and gauge how potential threats respond before deciding how to act. It's possible they'd identified the study itself as something worth responding to. They'd noticed the microphones. They'd noticed researchers behaving strangely, freezing, watching, recording instead of reacting the way people normally do around crows. And the shift in communication followed. Whether the crows deliberately altered their language on purpose isn't something anyone can say for certain. What is certain? This is the same species that's been shown to solve multi-step physics puzzles, build tools from raw plant material, tag specific human faces as named entities in a shared network, pass threat information down generations, and turn gatherings around the dead into functioning investigations. Noticing you're being monitored and adjusting your communication in response is a significant cognitive leap, but not obviously bigger than what these birds have already shown they can do in controlled studies. The machine is still running. The researchers are still hunting for the new pattern. And somewhere outside right now, on the wire above your street, on your roof, in the trees at the edge of your yard, a crow is watching you, and it has already decided who you are. Your face is on file, your habits are logged, and your name, in a language we're only just learning to read, is already circulating. The real question isn't whether crows have a language anymore. It's how much of what they're saying we'll ever manage to hear. Before we continue, if you enjoy fascinating stories about science, history, mysteries, and the world around us, subscribe to Bible Truth Global. We bring you incredible stories and discoveries that will make you stop and think. So, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's get back to the story. Because what researchers discovered next about crows is even more surprising.